Good morning, everybody. What's today, Sue? Day 12? Day 13, I believe. I'll check and make sure. This is where we camped last night. Deep Gap campsite. There's Sue doing her final pack up behind the tree. I finally got packed before her. She usually beats me. All right. There's something I do want to show you here. Something very cool. The lichens on this tree are pretty unique. I'm gonna have to look these up, but very reminiscent of oak leaves, but they're lichens, I'm pretty sure. All right. Just trying to bring you the interesting stuff. All right, we got about a 9-mile day, but we got to go up over Standing Indian Mountain, which is going to be a trudge, and up and down both sides. It's like 2 miles up, 2 miles down. Not in altitude, but 2 mile long, 1,000-foot climb. We had a very interesting evening. We were set up in camp, and a day hiker came through the camp here and wandered down the woods down that way. Then about half hour later came back up, lost, had no cell service, or her phone was dead, was begging a charge. Another camper here had what she needed, the charging cable she needed, got her some phone, got her up to the road up there, and did we say she made a call? But it's the other camper suggested there's a Forest Service road there. It's about 6 miles down to a main road, and so suggested she hike that way. And instead, she went further into the woods to Standing Indian Shelter, hoping to get help from someone there. I don't know. So we don't know what happened after that. But about 8:30. I heard a truck come down the Forest Service road, a lot of talking up there where the Appalachian Trail meets that road, and then the truck went down the road. So our guess is they got in touch with a sheriff or park ranger or something and got her taken out because she had no overnight gear, no sleeping bag, or anything like that. So it was pretty interesting. But we're gonna get going in a moment. I'll get back to you on the trail and bring you what I see. All right. Took a quick stop here at Standing Indian Shelter, which was 2 miles north of where we camped. But we're still hiking up to the top of the mountain. Nice shelter, similar structure to Muskrat Creek. And tough debate on whether to pull our jackets off because it's windy, even though it's only a little cool, but with the wind it gets cold. All right, we're gonna move on. There's the privy right down there. About the only advantage to the shelters is the rainy days, they're great, and they have a privy and water. Go ahead. So most people avoid the shelters because there's a lot of mice running in them. You can see again here, those strings are for hanging packs, and the cups on them, these things, the mice don't like to crawl down over those. So other than that, and the other thing people don't like, see the spaces between the floorboards? A lot of times that funnels the wind up under them and cold. But in a rainy day, there's nothing like having the roof to cook under, so you don't have to pack up wet gear. And I'll leave you with that. I have to sign in just because it's fun to tell them you stopped by. Still on the climb up the standing Indian Mountain. I came across this burnt out tree. Has a interesting knob and little flagpole on top. But the moss growing on top of the knob is pretty cool. Let me give you a different angle. Cool. Alright. Trail coming up the mountain so far has been pretty good. Roughly a continuous 20% grade. Very doable. Don't be afraid of it. I imagine up near the top it'll get a little steeper. And then once you're over, it's a long downhill. Hopefully about the same grade. A little rockier, as you can see on the trail. But otherwise not too bad. That's about the incline we've been climbing for the last mile. A couple switchbacks here and there to keep it good, and I think that's the top up there, so we're going up there. Northward. Almost to the top of Standing Indian. This is one of the views. Too bad the trees are in the way. There's another one behind me, so maybe I'll just walk it over. Looks like it's a little further up than I thought. But this is the ridge leading up to Standing Indian Mountain. Let's see what we can get from here. Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. Hang on, a little more. Make you suffer with the trail a little more to get the view. Alright. Check this out. And you can hear the wind. It's been like this all night. Isn't that beautiful? Wow. Alright, there's probably more views up there. Got to get up to the top up there. Alright. This is a little further on. Sorry about the shaking, but that's the wind blowing my phone. I am standing still. We've got 30-40 mile an hour wind gusts, maybe more even. Look at that. Lou, why did you want to go on the hike of the Appalachian Trail? Other than it being a lifelong goal? Look at the scenery. That's why. Alright, a little more to get to the top. Alright. There's the view from the top of Standing Indian Mountain. Sorry about the shaking, but that's the wind. I'm sure you can hear it in the microphone. The best part about this view is the place I see human civilization is way out there. But I'm going to come down this way. Let's show you the valley here. Look at this. Now, check out all the gnarly trees. You can imagine all the wind they have to deal with. My hat blew in front of my face. Sorry. We hiked all along this ridge to get up here. On the downhill side of Standing Indian Mountain. Very nice trail. I don't know if I said it. The way up wasn't bad. With the switchbacks in the right place, it was like a 20% grade all the way up. So it was quite doable. The view from the top, one of the best so far. Tell you, wish the sun was out, but even so, it was glorious. The whole valley there. I hope it came out well in the filming. But you can see these trees take quite a wind beating. You can still hear the wind, although it seems less than it was. Oh, someone's coming. Got to shut down. Something weird. The way the moss grows on this tree in little patches instead of a big sheet. That's better. That's a better angle. Just little clumps here and there. I thought it was unique. I stopped to get a drink and I noticed it. We just crossed this stream, but I was low on water. We got about 3 miles to the shelter, so I filter water. Collect dirty water in my CNOC, my Sawyer squeeze filter attached to my smart water bottle. I'm just going to collect a liter. That'll be enough to get me to the shelter. Once we get to the shelter, we'll evaluate whether we're going to stay around there or continue on. It'd be nice to continue on, but the next listed campsite is about 3 miles, so we'll have to see. We're feeling pretty good. Today's hikes were quite enjoyable and certainly not overly difficult, even though that Standing Indian Mountain was nowhere near as bad as we thought. It was just, the trails were 20% incline up and long downhill, not too many big steps, so we're feeling good. So as soon as I finish this up, I'm going to move on, and we'll evaluate how far we want to go once we get to, I believe it's Carter Gap Shelter. And that's where I'll be going when I'm done. This should be the last climb before the shelter. Once we get over this hump, it's a little downhill to the shelter, which is in the gap. A lot of trees across the trail. Looks like there was pretty bad storms this year. So, I had to do a little limbo or some tree hopping. But other than that, trail's been pretty good. Good grade like you see here. Ooh, look at that burl. That's kind of funky. Again, signs of fire scattered throughout. My guess is from prescribed burns. But you can see a lot of brush down. I don't know what's going on. A lot of rhododendrons are knocked over and ripped out, draped across the trail. I guess the crews came by, cleared some of them out. But predominantly oak forest here. Big old red oaks. Red oaks commonly used for your oak floorings, hardwood floors. You'll have to forgive me if I do get some of my species wrong. I'm quite familiar with them up in New York. That's a big red oak. But down here, I noticed subtle differences in the bark on certain species. So, I say red oak up by me in New York, they're northern red oaks, but down here I'm sure they're southern red oaks. But I'm judging species on the characteristics I'm familiar with in my area, my home area. More fire evidence. And I see what look like chestnut oak sometimes, and I see chestnut oak leaves on the ground, but the bark isn't as deeply ridged down here. So, is it a different variety of chestnut oak, or the same ones that just don't need a stick of bark down here in the south? Interesting. So, again, forgive me my misidentifications when they happen. Some grand old trees here. And that one right up ahead. A lot of board feet. All right. Let me get to putting some northbound footprints to my southbound side. I need you guys to check something out for me. Anything in there? Hello? I don't know. I wasn't going to look in there, but I'll check it out on the recording. See, another tree across the trail. Everyone did a reroute so they didn't get spiked by the branches. Onward and upward. What's that? Yeah, a lot of trees down here. Which is Had that cherry that crossed the trail. That tree down there. This birch, yellow birch here. Look at this birch. Oh, that's maybe one of the same. Look at this mess, huh? Little wind and soft ground. That's why. Yeah, it was all rooted on that flat stone. So it didn't have much dirt to sink its roots into. Strong wind, a little wet ground, what dirt it had. And Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. Alright. Moving on. The birches, I think the cherries too, very aggressive at seeding. All they need is a little bit of dirt on a rock and they'll take root. And their roots will crawl over the rock down to the earth around it. What's really cool is when they take root on an old stump and their roots go over the stump down into the ground. And the stump eventually rots out from under it and it leaves you with a birch. Looks like it's growing on 2-foot stilts, 4 or 5 stilts before you hit the trunk. I saw one a few days back. I should have filmed it, but I didn't. But I'm sure I'll run across another one. Lots of evidence of fire here. Looking at a lot of the rhododendrons a little back on the trail. They're only 2 feet high or so, like they've only had a year of growth. And all the old rhododendron stems had no buds or anything, which would lead me to believe that the fire burnt them up and the stems that are standing are dead, and the roots that are growing, or the small 2-footers that are growing, came from stump sprouts. Root sprouts. Timber Ridge Trail. Alright, I gotta see where that is and how far I have to go. Tuning out. More evidence of tree blowdown. Carter Gap Shelter. Must be down there, or did they? Alright, end of day 13. It's going to be at Carter Gap Shelter. There's an extensive camping area here. There used to be a shelter down that way that's now burnt down, I guess. So they built a new one right behind me. I'm going to show you that. There's our food hanging for the night. But this is the shelter. We're going to be quite cozy in here. There's 6 people in here, and that's about one more that it can handle. Actually, it's comfy 6. It's going to be a comfy 6, and there's a reputation of quite a number of mice. So we all got our stuff hanging up, but interesting. So we had an early meal. We weren't going to stay in here, but it looked like it was going to rain. So we decided to stay in here so we wouldn't start the day off packing up wet gear. And now the sun's coming out. So it's supposed to rain about 7 o'clock tomorrow. This way we pack up, we weatherize our packs, and we get going. So we'll have one night in the rain tomorrow night. But then after that, we go down to Winding Stair Gap, and we'll hire a shuttle to take us into town, or hitch into town, and we'll take a zero there. I can't wait. I want a burger and fries and a beer like you have no idea. So, anyway, tomorrow we're gonna have hot breakfast. I got sausage and biscuits or something like that, so I'm psyched. All right, everyone, good night. Hopefully we won't have any bears. Yes, there's lots of signage up here saying there's a lot of bear activity up here, so everyone's worried, me included. Not about coming in the shelter, but getting our food out of the trees. So that's my stuff right there on the end. I volunteered to take the edge because the mice like to run along the edge, and all the women are like, ew, mice, ew. So I took the edge.
Hello.